we're going to just walk through updates to Logstream in August. Those are 3.1 release. And I'm going to start in my own little test environment. Let's make this much more of a back and forth question-wise. There's a lot of folks on here who had access to the version, have been messing around with it for a while. So with no further ado, I'm just going to jump right in if that's fine. Cool. All right. So as I said, I'm not going to do any slides, but I lied. So I'm going to do one slide real fast because I think it's a good slide to show. So let me grab that real fast.
You're a lying liar. You sit on a throne of lies.
I am a king of deception. That's all I care for. It's just to live and to deceive.
Product management.
It is the most evil of the disciplines. All right. So real quick, this is the slide that we've been using kind of in all of these sessions about what's new in 3.1. So we've added a notifications framework and a whole notification center. This is specifically focused on destinations and licensing to start. This will grow. Like, we have set it up in such a way that we can add new conditions and we can expand it to other parts of the Logstream data flow. So just know that as we are focused heavily on destination notifications when a destination is unhealthy, it's a foundational piece of where we see ourselves going and providing a critical service, which is, you set up a lot of data flows. You don't have control of the destinations. You don't have control of all the sources. Oftentimes the folks that do maybe don't have the best alerting or notification set up on that side. A common use case we hear is a destination, of which I will not provide a name for, falls over a lot. Once it falls over, it begins backing up, and that triggers a persistent queue. When persistent queue is triggered, it will eventually run out, and events will start getting dropped, or things will back up to the source. So in those situations, it could be hours. That could happen at like midnight. Our notification system is designed to identify whenever that destination is not responding, and then send out a triggered event somewhere, either internally within Logstream or out to an external environment to let somebody know that, hey, you need to go deal with that. Like, something's backing up over here. The next is we're going to talk about packs, but I think if you've been involved in the pack community and in the community Slack channel and all, you probably are really up to date on what's going on with packs. But we're going to walk through the Cribl dispensary, installing from a Git repo, and we'll talk a little bit about where we see packs going and how important they are to us. Secret store, centralized management of auth keys, passwords, secrets, that kind of stuff. It's all in one place now. I'll touch on that. We have some new integrations. I do not have specific demos for all the new integrations. I'm not going to do the integration slide I did on the webinar, but we've added support for Google Chronicle as a destination. Pretty cool. We have a couple of customers that were asking for that. They really like what Chronicle offers and its complement to their other security tools. They like the threat hunting capabilities, and we have a lot of data that Chronicle can use. It just makes sense that we would be a way of getting critical security events to Google Chronicle. We've also added support for Grafana Cloud for their cloud agent as a source, Loki logs, and Prometheus metrics, Prometheus-like metrics, that's what Grafana calls them, as well as a destination for sending directly to Grafana Cloud. So if you're familiar with Grafana, and I'm sure most, if not all of us are, Grafana is kind of a front end, but it's also a blanket term that kind of summarizes a lot of different components that get brought together. And then on-prem customer managed version of Grafana, you might have Grafana, some InfluxDB, maybe it's connected to Prometheus, a Loki log server. Within Grafana Cloud, they provided an entire observability stack for metrics, logs, traces, as well as a front end. And so our new destination supports the ability to send directly to Grafana Cloud today for logs and metrics, in the future for traces. More to come about traces later on, right? Not in this session, by the way. I mean later on. And then we've kind of broken up that Grafana journey into the individual protocols and components that provide the data. So we have a Prometheus remote write source, which complements our Prometheus remote write destination that we put into the last version. We have the ability to collect Promtail/Loki protocol events, so we can get that in via Loki through the Grafana agent or any Loki compatible source. And then that's kind of it. Grafana has a lot of moving pieces, we've noticed. And working with it the last couple of days, I definitely think we help in providing a way to reliably collect that data and get it to the different worlds that Grafana connects to. And then finally, we have the code function. I'm hoping that we can spend a little bit of time just kind of like brainstorming where that can go. and talking a bit about that, but that's essentially the ability to author a JavaScript function as a part of a pipeline. I'm going to turn off my do not disturb because things are getting very disturbing on the edges of my periphery. Okay. So let's just jump into the product. By the way, just ask a question out loud anywhere through this whole thing. I've been talking for like 2 hours now. So I as much as I like to do that, I do need a bit of a break to kind of rest. So let me know if there's anything you want to talk about at all. So let's talk notifications. This is my little single instance server. I'm going to walk you through what we're going to look at. So I have a destination. That destination is an S3. That S3 is configured incorrectly. So basically the name is wrong. If I took that off, everything would be healthy. So in previous versions of Logstream, if something goes down, we send something to a leader log or we have things logged, but you have a lot of different worker processes. You have a lot of different workers. You don't necessarily want everything to get sent downstream to a messaging system that can get really noisy, especially if it's just a small failure. So the way notifications work is they run at the leader level. So even while you create them at the destination level, so again, this is the destination UI. I clicked on notifications. I have a notifications tab here. This is where I can add new conditions, and I'll talk about that in just a second. They are all compiled into a notifications.yaml that is managed at the leader. So notifications are sort of this thing that sits external to the destination, although the workflow connects them so that you don't have to like set up all the destinations and go somewhere and remember what destinations need notifications. They're all put together right there. So a notification, within all of our destinations, we have a destination health metric. It's 1 and 2, I believe. No, 0, 1, and 2. 0 means green. Everything looks good. Sending data, it's getting data. We have no way of telling if there's a problem. Things look good. And then the second one is 1. It's a yellow. Like there's a problem with the destination. We're not 100% sure what it is, but there is an issue with the destination. And the third is red. 2 is red. So every single one of our destinations has a heuristic that determines the health. So for example, like a Splunk load balancing, it's something like 50% of the nodes are unable to receive data or otherwise are reporting errors back to us. If that's the case, then that is a red health metric. And the way notifications work, and again, I'm doing this on S3, so it's a little different conceptually. Oops, wrong button. So the way that works is I set a notification. The condition is unhealthy destination. So we only have one condition to start, but conditions are more or less just pipelines and functions that run on the leader to determine these things. And so we expect to add many more very quickly. One that's come up recently is trigger a notification if back pressure behavior is engaged at all. And also like if my PQ begins to fill up. So we'll add more conditions. This is not a static project. We have a roadmap for this that takes us out pretty far. So right now it's unhealthy destination. Did that thing reach a health output to metric 95% of the last 60 seconds? So we do a perk 95 over the time window. If it's 10 minutes, then you need to make sure that thing has to be in that boundary or in that band for that period of time. And then if it is, it will trigger a notification, which is essentially an event that is written to notifications.log. It is also written to a target. So just think of a target as a destination for your notifications. We didn't call it destinations because the targets run on the leader. They're managed by the leader, sent out by the leader. They're also greatly restricted in terms of what you can do with them because they are specifically designed for the notification system. So system messages, which exists on the bottom left, I'll show you in a second. That is the default. Just send it to the system messages, bubble it up in the UI, let people know what's going on, let them clear it there. We also have a target for webhook, and we have a target for Slack. Before I get the question, I'll go ahead and answer it. We will look into adding a target for email.
We do have a question from Mamut in the chat. Are these notifications based on source or destination?
Destination.
Gotcha.
It was all in destination to start. We have plans to move notifications to sources and collectors and even pipelines eventually, or maybe open up notifications as a part of a pipeline. That's all kind of things we're talking about. But that's where we are right now. So they are destinations. They are designed for the use case of this thing is not getting data or there's something wrong with it. And it happened at a time when we don't have people actively working in Logstream. We need to go respond to that. or shoot something to a Slack channel or file an incident in PagerDuty so that you can respond to it via your on-call system. So that's entirely the use case that we're focused on right now. There's also one for licensing, by the way. It'll trigger 2 weeks before your license expires, and then every single hour until you fix your license. We got overwhelming feedback. It's the everything is, it's going to be noisy, but luckily it sends to messages. It's pretty easy to clear out. Another thing that we've done internally, and a few folks have done as well, is they have sent notifications directly through a webhook to a logstream worker node. And then they just do filtering and pipeline work, and then they send that out somewhere beyond. So you have a webhook, you have the ability to send generic HTTP to a logstream worker. The world can open up. David Maislin was telling me that there's a notifications.log on the leader, by the way, where everything is written. So Maislin was telling me that he likes to collect those things with a collector. Like go and pull logs off the leader with collector. So also an option. Okay, here's some questions. Is this notification cover the telemetry issue? I'm going to need more details there.
Yeah, can you talk a little more about what you mean by the telemetry issue, Mahmoud?
Yeah, sure. When the server cannot send the telemetry data to the Cribl.io, is that something we can notify us, get some notification?
If you have a destination set up and it's sending any data, regardless what that data is, you can set a condition on that destination to be notified if that destination does not receive data.
Okay, so it's not covering the telemetry because telemetry is behind the scene and pushing to the behind the scene. Okay.
Yeah, talking about the telemetry we send up, right? So. Yeah, can you speak more specifically to that, Nick? Or
I don't quite get the situation. So is it sending telemetry from the worker nodes to the leader, or is it sending telemetry out of Logstream?
I believe it's out of Logstream back up to us. Yeah.
Yes, for the license.
It's required for the free license, right?
Right.
Yeah. So we require that to be turned on. If it somehow gets blocked, then you have a problem. And is there some way? I mean, I think you already get it, right? But
yeah. So you'll get it. That shows up in our messages anyway. That's already in the product if you can't connect. This does not cover that. This also brings up another good point. Notifications are not available on the free tier of the product. So notifications are for standard and enterprise editions of Logstream.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right. So I got to lead with that one. I got to not bury that.
Yeah, I didn't know that either, actually. So I'm glad you asked, Mahmoud. Anyone else have any questions? Because Nick doesn't slow down, so you have to interrupt him to ask a question.
Especially when I'm hour 3 of presenting and I'm 6 cups of coffee in.
Is that a coffee mug that you're drinking out of, the big metal tank? Is this your tankard?
Yeah.
I see.
128-ounce Red Bull. Go for it, Nick.
Oh my God, no.
I'm on the second tier coffee, which is the coffee my wife didn't drink. I'm give that to me. I will drink your coffee. Okay. So let's go. So notifications, that's what they are, right? There's a lot of different elements to them. So, let me show you a few things. So I have this notification. I want to view the events specifically for this notification. So this is the condition, notify S3 is down. This is the log browser. So when you go to notifications and you go to events, it's all right here in front of you. This is just the notifications.log. One of the things that I like that we'll invest in as we continue to develop this out is actions from this list. So I have a bunch of things. What do I do with that? Do I click through to something? Do I link to something? So in my notification, you can set meta fields on any condition for a notification that you like. And I have just put a URL that I can copy. And then I can pop into a browser. But if you're writing to a Slack channel, you can format that to be a clickable link, right? So if you're writing out to PagerDuty, you can add arbitrary metadata. So that helps. Let me show you what I mean. So that helps in a situation where we maybe don't have all the context that we need. for a specific situation, you can just add metadata and this will show up in the event. And then you can use that in your downstream systems. Cool. All right, notifications. All right, let's talk about packs. By the way, anybody out there using packs right now had a chance to get into the pack dispensary?
Oh yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I started to use it.
Good. So
That's the main reason we want to upgrade.
Yeah. So I just want to call out, like, if you are using, if you're hanging out here, if you're downloading stuff, please hit the smash star. That lets us know that is a favorite of yours. It also, I think, sets up a whole like notification thing in GitHub, so you know when things release and get published. But it also just helps us know what are the most popular. We have some stats and activity, but this really lets us know, like, hey, we like this thing. Let's focus here. So in 3.0, we release packs. Packs are a container for all of the configurations that you need in order to process data in Logstream. It's routes, pipelines, knowledge objects, lookups. We do expect packs to grow, encompass more of the flow, become much more of a self-contained set of things. So you can kind of just drop it off in your Logstream environment, and it gives you what you need to go left to right with your data. So in this release, we're making packs a little easier to install. And then we are also launching the pack dispensary, the Cribl pack dispensary. So this is where we will share our packs going forward. We have 12 right now. As soon as I respond to David's request this week that he's being very patient about, we will have 13. These cover everything from Windows event reduction to syslog, to some examples of how to use webhook PagerDuty. We have an IBM MQ pack out there. So like there's some really common use cases and data types and data stories that we can tell with packs. And there's also some really fun esoteric kind of like in the weeds specific technology components. So it's just a lot of knowledge. All of this is licensed under Apache 2.0 in our world. So you are totally free to use this, fork it, do what you want to do with it. But just know that we are going to continue to push content here, products here, or pipelines here. And this is packs are a great way to share and help build out that community. So we will have information later on this year about how we expect folks to be able to contribute their own packs into this list, right? And how we list that out. We're still working that out, as well as guidance, sort of like high-level app or pack development guidance. For the time being, again, these are all open. So if you have a comment or a request, you can just go to the pack, do Cribl Win events. You can go into, you could do a pull request. So you can pull it down, make a modification, do a PR. David will be notified. I'll be notified. Other folks will be notified. Or you can actually ask questions and comments within the environment itself. So you can just go to issues. You can say open new issue. So all the packs right now are pre 1.0, which means they're all community supported. We're working out the full support model of how you leverage support. If you are having a problem with the pack and you do have support entitlements, do not hesitate to contact support. We will route it. We will take care of it. Not asking you to circumvent that process if that's the comfortable process. In the community, without support entitlements, don't really want to go straight through support, whatever it is, do feel free to come to these spaces, ask questions, make comments. It's already happened a couple of times. We updated the pack very quickly. So we want this all to exist out in the open. That's just everything from a question about how do I install this, to a bug, to a feature request, things you'd like to see in the pack in the future. We want to keep it all out here. We want to be able to grow it and develop it communally. All right. So I'm going to go through installation of one of the packs from here. So within, nope, wrong one. Here we go. So in 3.0, you could install packs from a file. That was about it. We've added the ability to import from a URL. Lots of folks stage things in like a CDN or like an S3 bucket. They install from there somewhere secure they can get to it. And then you can import from a Git URL. And this is more or less any Git system. So this works with GitHub. It works with GitLab, I'm fairly sure. Anything that supports basically the Git URL and Git.repo format should work for you. We haven't tested everything that's out there. There's a lot of things. If you are using a system where you are staging your packs internally, then please let us know if it's not working for you properly, and we can get that worked out. So you can install from Git. I'm going to do GitHub. Let me get out of there we go. So let's find a pack. I already did Windows pack, the knowledge pack. This is a really cool one. So the knowledge pack is a pack that just provides you with data samples and some examples of pipelines. And it's kind of I think of it as like a gymnasium, or if you're a gamer, it's like the tutorial levels you can go back to kind of refine certain skills and things like that. So the knowledge package is all these great samples and examples of what you can do in LogStream, not necessarily an end-to-end use case driven thing, but more of like a beef up your own skills. Let me check chat. It looks like there might be something here. Oh, nope. That was just Pi saying bye. Bye, Pi. Oh, here's one. Let me ask, here's a question. When create packs in the future, use destination specific fields like Splunk, Elk, QRadar, ArcSight. I don't see any reason why you can't use destination. So we don't have sources and destinations in packs today. So by the way, I'm referencing the question in the chat. It's asking about using source and destination specific names. We are looking to add sources and destinations into packs. So you can basically drop a pack off that gives you a full workflow of getting data in, but you can add whatever fields you want. You can override inputs or output IDs inside of the pack. It's just a part of your data flow. So if you want your pack to have a very specific output and you know what that output is, you can override the output ID in the data as an eval, and just it'll pick that up and send it to the right location. Cool. So I'm going to keep going. Is there any other questions on that one specifically, Osama? I hope that answered the question. Okay, nope, we got a thanks. Moving ahead. All right, so we got this pack. Actually, I'm going to do the MQ pack. I like that one too. That one's a little off. No, I just want to show you. So I'm going to use the Cribl middleware MQ, which is developed and currently maintained by Carly. So within every GitHub repo, and this is in different places and different repository systems, you're going to have a link, HTTPS, and it's going to link to a .git URL. And that basically is what is needed in order to tell LogStream how to import a pack. So for GitHub, you go to code, you hit this little clipboard guy right here. You just need the HTTPS. And then we're going to go back to my pack. We're going to paste it in. You can give the pack a new ID at this point. This is basically if you're going to fork it or you're experimenting with something, you give it a new ID. Otherwise, leave it as the ID that's defined in the pack, and that will ensure that when you upgrade the pack or you update it or override it, it works as expected. You don't end up in basically this is an import as if you add a pack ID. You can also target a specific branch or a specific tag in your Git repo. So if you want to install a branch of a pack or you want to focus on a very specific release or tag of a pack, you can add that here and that will import. I'm not going to do that workflow right now, mostly because I haven't run through it 3 or 4 times and I know I will stumble in front of the group. So I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. It's installing, and now it's installed. There will be a display name for all the packs. This is a new addition to LogStream in 3.1, the ability to add a display name to packs, and they just have to be updated in order to provide that display name. So now I have my Windows Events packs. I have my Cribl middleware MQ pack. I have data samples. So all of our internally developed packs that we make available will come with data samples. They will come with a README. It will come with pipelines. It will come with explainers about what is happening. So we have internal standards to ensure that when you install a pack, you don't necessarily need the source and destination set up to understand what the pack is doing and to understand what format your data is expected in order to work in the pack. So that is installing from a repo. This is the Cribl pack dispensary. That is a quick overview of the pack updates in 3.1. There is one thing I want to mention. Every single pack has a releases section. If it's public and available, it will have a area on the right called releases. And within the releases, there is a .crbl file. That is the file that you need if you want to install via file, right? So if you have an instance that's not connected to the public internet, just go grab that CRBL, download it, install it via file the same way you would do anything, and now you're in business. Cool. Any questions on packs?
That's just the leader that has to have that connectivity, right?
Yeah, just the leader. The leader does. Well, no, you do it inside of a group. Packs are managed inside the group. So once you're in a group, it's in group context.
But as far as the connectivity out to GitHub, is that
from the leader off the top of my head? I think it's on the work. I think it is the workers. I think it would be because I think you do it in the group context. But let me find out. Good question.
Cool.
I don't know off the top of my head. I said it, the answer, and I was like, I need to verify for sure. Okay. I'll find that out though. Somebody would make a note to remind me to inform myself. That would be great too. Okay, let's keep going. Any other questions on packs? See if we got anything in chat. How do I create packs internally, from GUI or files? You do it from the GUI. So if you're going to create a pack, I'll show it to you really quickly while we're talking. You go here, go to add new, you go to create a pack. Cool. As you'll notice, if it's a new pack and you start giving it a display name, it will build a pack ID for you. And then you give it a version, description. I'm not going to do any of that kind of stuff. Not necessary. So now I have a pack. I will go into my pack. I'll click into it. And so now I just start authoring routes, pipelines, putting samples in here. If you have existing pipelines that exist at your group level, you can go and copy those and put them in here. There's no way to directly import from existing group or other pack contents yet. So just know that if you're going to pull a pipeline from your system, you just go here. Let me grab one. So if I was going to grab this Cisco eStreamer, let me go edit as JSON. I'm just going to grab this. Okay. Back to my pack, go to my pipelines, going to add a pipeline, going to create a pipeline. Boy, one password is really the bane of my existence sometimes. Okay. I got it. I named it wrong. Anyway, let me do this again. This is what happens when I do things live. But I noticed just right now that it would be great for us to provide some quick import tools here. So I'll go back to.
You can also just use the three dots menu next to a pipeline to copy that, right?
Yeah, I think so too. So there's other ways of like grabbing and copying things. But anyway, you have to copy from an external source then. I'm not going to belabor this and make myself look dumber than I already do. So I have to do that on every demo. I have to go down a path that I shouldn't have gone down to begin with, prove myself to be inadequate, and then back out. So now that that's done, we can move on to the next part of the presentation. Okay, so we talked packs, talked notifications. We talked a little bit about integrations for Grafana Cloud and Google Chronicles. I'm not going to go too far in there. One of the things that we did add in the most recent version, that's the demo. I don't want to go there. I want to go here. So that's fine. So in 3.0, we added a secret store. So we have a couple of different like secret managers out there. So we have a certificate manager, and that's entirely for MTLS stuff, so certs. And then we have a KMS integration that is for encryption keys only to start. So if you're using HashiCorp or our own internal, we are storing and syncing up our encryption keys. The request has come up multiple times, just store all of our auth tokens and keys. We're looking at it. We need to add a couple of other vaults to the mix, so we make sure that we're testing thoroughly everything before we add that last mile integration there. So that is something we're looking into. But currently in the product, you kind of have to set up API keys, secret keys, authentication tokens, username, password per source, per destination, per collector, right? Which distributes secrets and sensitive information across multiple different YAML files, multiple different UIs. Presents a security issue. It also just opens up a lot of opportunity to misconfigure something and spend a lot of time figuring out what is misconfigured. Additionally, we have several customers that are using like one set of credentials, and they're rotating those credentials across multiple sources and destinations, particularly popular for things like Kafka or S3 destinations or things in AWS or your cloud environment. So with the secret store now, in the past, you had essentially manual. If you're using an AWS environment, you can use auto, use an IAM roles. It's a whole different bag, right? So you do manual where you'd enter your access key and secret key, but in this newest version, you can just create a entry in the secret store. It will store your API key and secret key encrypted in one place. And then anywhere that you create, so if I wanted to create another S3 destination, instead of having to re-enter all of this, I just go here and I pick what I want. So you could do that as like, again, a master credential that you just rotate it, because once you get this saved, all you have to do is really go back and update this in the central store, and we'll update every source and destination. Next time that runs, it brings it in, and that is applied versus like the previous one. So it gives you a nice place to rotate keys and credentials as well. So this is now available on any source and destination in which authentication using a username, password, secret key, using a API token or something like that is required. That exists on all of those sources and destinations, and you can use this central store. That is a completely open to everybody feature, as well as the packs. So that is all there and available to folks. And that is under security, under settings, under secrets. And it's all right there. So you can go through and you can modify and make changes in that one place, push those changes out, update all of those different sources and destinations. It's also connected to the API, so you can do that remotely without having to touch the UI if you don't want to. So that's the update to the secret store. Okay.
And that's at the leader or at the worker group level?
That is, again, I had to get this quick. So
worker group.
Yeah, worker group. No, secrets are across everything. It's not at the group level.
I did it in the worker group when I configured mine under settings under the worker group.
Okay. Well, we'll figure that out. So we have two questions, right? Where are secrets managed and stored? That was number one. And where are packs installed and managed? Worker group or leader? I kind of think it's worker group now that we're getting into this, but I should know this. I'm going to figure this out for everybody. I do know for a fact notifications are managed at the leader level. I can say that with 100% confidence. Okay.
So this is very cool because as we found out when we tried to add somebody with reader access, they can see all the secrets. That's not nice. So once we upgrade, we'll be implementing that for sure.
Yeah. All right. So we're on sources, destinations. We did that. Okay, cool. So let's talk about the code function. Okay, so one of the requests that's coming often is an unbounded eval. So you can do some stuff in an eval function, but you can't sort of just author JavaScript functions to do some advanced stuff. One of the things that comes up often is the use case of, I want to lowercase a whole bunch of different fields in a JSON array. And it's not particularly easy to do that without sort of parsing out the JSON, putting the fields in a temporary place, running a function to lowercase everything, and then bringing it all back in and trying to restructure it. This could be a multi-function step that you have to take. So I'm going to do the simplest version of this that I possibly can come up with. So I have this sample. The sample is a bunch of CPUs and some JSON in a JSON array, right? So all of these are kind of their own little area. I want to lowercase CPU to lowercase CPU. In other versions of Logstream, before the code function, that could take multiple functions to make that happen, a lot of different steps. In the code function, it's a JavaScript function. So the JavaScript function runs under the strict restriction for JavaScript. This is all within documentation. This is also what I'd consider to be an advanced feature. So as you notice, it comes up in red. That's because while we support the code function and the use of it, the functions you write inside of it are unbounded to a large degree. So there's a lot you can kind of do to kind of trip over yourself or shoot yourself in the foot. So just know going in, work with this heavily in a dev environment, test it out, make sure that it's going to perform the way you would like it to perform, and that it's written well before you push it out into a production environment. So just know it's a little less, all of our functions we build and we test and we validate. But with the code function, you're authoring your own. This is a complement to custom scripts and custom functions, which kind of go even a step beyond and allow for a much bigger world of processing and sort of and access and overall capabilities. But this provides you with a way of authoring functions right in the pipeline. So as I mentioned, if I go out, what do I got? I got a bunch of lowercase CPUs. So with a single line, we were able to identify the fields that we wanted to update, lowercase those values, and then just pump it out into the pipeline. So that is the code function. There's several other use cases that have come up over time that are significantly more advanced, but it just opens up the world to intermediate to advanced users to do more with your data as part of the pipeline without having to figure out a workaround to use a custom function or a script to get that work done. Anything from our friends, the SEs, about this and how you see it playing a big part in customer environments or in data processing?
So I would say the short version on the code. First, the code function is amazingly powerful, and most customers won't need to use something like this. But for those who will, it's a far easier way to achieve the same goal compared to having to write a custom function.
Yeah, I totally agree. It puts it right in line and gives you the power of like JavaScript, which is, we've noticed, highly performant, and it's what we build our stuff on. All right, so that is that. As you've noticed, as we've been going through the product, the UI does not look exactly the same. We have made a few changes, so I am going to walk through those changes in the last 4 or 5 minutes, and then that will end my time and my presentation. So within single mode, within the single instance environment, you have notifications. This will be here no matter your license, but you won't be able to use notifications in this current version unless you are on a paid license type. On the left-hand side, we now have this message center. I think this was called notifications in the last version, so we changed this to messages so it doesn't conflict with that term right there. This is where we publish things to initially, but this is also where system messages will show up. Another great convenient thing about the new updates to the UI is you can pull out, toggle to your dark mode. You can pin the sidebar open. You can also change your password. So we're giving users more control to set their experience. Now, this is all still stored in the browser, to answer Eugene's question, to anticipate a Eugene question. It's stored in the browser, not locally. So, if you use a different browser, if you go into incognito mode, they won't be persisted per user. That's something that we'll look at adding later on. Another major change is within sources, you have collectors. So we have merged all the collectors and sources together into one place. Just didn't seem like it was necessary to put the pieces that are required for data collection in kind of different top-level nav items. We've also made it easy to quickly sort by the method of collection. So if it's one of our collectors that goes out, pulls data from an endpoint, if it's a push-based source, if it's a pull-based, primarily your messaging systems and your queuing systems, or if it's one of our internal sources like DataGen or Cribl internal. So we've updated that. They're all there. Job Inspector is now in monitoring. So if you're looking for your Job Inspector, we've updated monitoring as well. So you have overview, you have data, which is where sources, routes, pipelines, packs, destinations, and data fields monitoring views are. System is queues, licensing, jobs, and Job Inspector. So I don't have any jobs running on this thing, so it won't really matter. But this is the blanket Job Inspector for everything. Beta flows and the overall logs from everything are still top level nav items and monitoring. So if you're looking for your Job Inspector, that's where it is. However, we have not changed the URLs on anything. So we just move things around. So if you have things bookmarked, if you have history in your browser, none of that should be broken. So that's another major change to the UI, is moving sources. And that's just how we'll do it from now on. So as we add more integrations, they'll start showing up here in this view. Within a distributed environment, there's one or two more key changes. So you'll notice that there is no longer a specific mappings left navigation item. And that's because we've moved it into the workers space. We've found that working with folks, most of the time they're toggling back and forth between workers and mappings anyway, as those two are deeply related. And we also wanted more room on the left-hand side to keep this from becoming a long list of different things to click on. And so now that is all right here in the workers tab, and notifications, it pops over to the left side. So that covers the major UI changes. There's a few other smaller features that have been added. There's actually several other features that have been added that I didn't get a chance to cover. These are the big things. Check the change log for other specific items. One of them is selective behavior when the persistent queue fills up, drop or block. Another one is a regex rendering tool so that you can look at all the white space and all the tabs and all the special characters within your event, so you can author better regex. And then just a slew of different fixes, updates, and other things that are all available in the change log. So I do recommend going to the community announcements channel clicking on the change log, seeing everything that's there. The sandboxes will all be updated soon, if not already, so you'll have a chance to go and work on them there. And then anybody with a Cribl Cloud environment, we are rolling out all the 3.1 updates this week. So you can expect to be able to see these updates in your Logstream Cloud environment, calling out specifically that notifications are not enabled in Logstream Cloud on the free version. They require a paid version of Logstream Cloud to access. There we go. That ends my spiel.
Thank you, Nick. Do we have any lingering questions from anyone on the call? And I'm like totally happy to awkward silence for like a solid 2 minutes. So I'll just sit here. Give everyone a chance to like think it through.
I can't be quiet that long, Tim. You know that.
Okay. I won't put anybody through that misery. Nick, thank you very much. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
This is a big release. This is a lot of really good stuff in here. I'm really excited. As always, we'll be in the community Slack. So if anything pops up, any questions, whatever the people may have as they start playing with it, please let us know.
Cool.
Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the day.
Bye all.
Thanks, Nick.